Hi everybody, today's focus is a comprehensive review of Force of Nature Multi-Purpose Cleaner. About a year ago, I released a video where I tested the bacterial properties of Force of Nature in my bathroom and in my kitchen. I'll put a link to that video in the description below if you're interested. Then a few weeks ago, I was contacted by a representative of Force of Nature who had seen one of my other cleaning videos and asked if I would be interested in creating a video about Force of Nature. I explained I've already done the bacteria testing for it, but I'm more than willing to do some other extensive tests and an extensive review on Force of Nature. So Force of Nature mailed me a starter kit for free, and I'm going to give you a comprehensive review of how Force of Nature works in all aspects around my home. So the kit that Force of Nature sent me includes the electrolyzer with a plug, spray bottle, 50 capsules, and their laundry strips. Force of Nature is a very innovative and simple cleaner that uses salt, water, and vinegar in an electrolyzer to produce sodium hydroxide and hypochlorous acid. So the sodium hydroxide part of it is good for cleaning soap scum, grime, sticky, grease. And the hypochlorous acid is a deodorizer and disinfectant. The Force of Nature website has a lot of information and actually a really good video that explains how this works. I'm going to put a link to that in the description below so you can check that out. The solution itself lasts about 2 weeks, and that's one of the reasons why you have this electrolyzer and you make it fresh in your home as you need it. It's not something that's very shelf stable and that can go on store shelves for long periods of time. So this unique cleaner can be used in many different places in the home, and that's what I'm going to test. I'm going to test it on my windows as a glass cleaner, as a degreaser in my kitchen, as well as doing some bacteria testing. The second product that came with my starter kit is the Force of Nature laundry strips. So I'll be doing some tests with those as well. So let's see how well Force of Nature cleans my home. Ensure the rubber cover is covering the power jack on the back of the electrolyzer. Fill to the line on the back of the bottle with cool water. Plug the power cord into the electrolyzer and into the outlet. Squeeze in the full contents of one activator capsule. Wait 10 seconds for the solution to disperse. Press the start button on the front of the electrolyzer once. Blue lights will begin pulsing, then will transition to green. The cleaner will be ready after the light ring is completely green in about 9 minutes. Unplug the electrolyzer and pour your cleaner into the spray bottle. Rinse the electrolyzer with water before plugging it back in. Hit the start button twice quickly to start your day counter. The light on the electrolyzer will go from green to yellow and then red. Red indicating that it's been 2 weeks and you should make some new solution. The next thing I want to test is Force of Nature's ability to remove bacteria from various areas around my home. So in order to test how well Force of Nature removes bacteria from my home, what I'm going to do is take a petri dish just like this guy here, and I'm going to label it A, B, and C. I'm going to take some sterile swabs, and I'm going to swab various areas around my home, including my kitchen sink drain, bathroom sink, toilet rim. And then I'm going to clean according to the Force of Nature directions, which state to spray, let it sit for 10 minutes, and wipe. Then I'll sample again and place that sample in the section labeled A for after. C is my control, nothing's going to go here. Let's look at the results for a new batch of Force of Nature with a 10-minute wait time. The kitchen sink. In the before section, we can see a lot of bacteria, and in the after section, we have no bacterial growth at all. The kitchen sink drain. In the before section, we can see a tremendous amount of bacteria, and in the after section, there's no bacteria at all. The bathroom sink. In the before section, we can see a lot of bacteria, and we can see different types of bacteria as well. And in the after section, we do have a few small bacterial colonies. So there definitely was a significant decrease in bacteria, but there are a few colonies hanging around in the after section. The toilet rim. In the before section, we have a lot of bacteria, and in the after section, there are no bacterial colonies. The toilet bowl. In the before section, we can see a lot of bacteria, and in the after section, there are just a few bacterial colonies. Now, I think this is a really interesting result because all I did was spray, wait, and flush. I didn't scrub the toilet at all. So Force of Nature did an excellent job of removing bacteria in my home with a fresh batch in a 10-minute sit time. Some of my viewers are interested in seeing how well Force of Nature works without having a 10-minute wait period. So that's what I'm going to test next. I'm going to do my bacteria testing, and this time, instead of using Force of Nature's recommended 10-minute sit time, I'm going to spray, let it sit 1 minute, and then wipe. Let's look at the results for a new batch of Force of Nature in a 1-minute sit time. The kitchen sink. In the before section, we can see a lot of bacteria, and in the after section, there's no bacterial growth at all. The kitchen sink drain. In the before section, there is a tremendous amount of bacteria there. That is a smearing of bacteria. And in the after section, I didn't detect any bacterial growth at all. The bathroom sink. In the before section, we can see a lot of bacteria, and again, in the after section, there's no bacterial growth at all. The toilet rim. In the before section, there is a lot of bacteria. In the after section, no bacterial growth. The toilet bowl. In the before section, we can see a lot of bacteria, and in the after section, we can see a visible decrease in bacteria. We're not seeing anything as significant as we've seen in a lot of these other tests, but there is a visible decrease. So Force of Nature did an excellent job at removing bacteria from my home using a fresh batch in a 1-minute sit time. The only spot where we saw bacterial growth was in that toilet bowl, which again is a pretty difficult place to remove bacteria, especially when I'm not scrubbing. I'm very impressed with these results. I'm also going to test the efficacy of the solution 14 days later because Force of Nature says you can use it for up to 2 weeks. So I'm going to repeat this test 14 days later with the same solution. Let's look at the results with force of nature after the solution has been sitting for 2 weeks with a 10-minute wait time. The kitchen sink. In the before section, we can see bacterial growth. Now, this isn't quite as tremendous as we've seen in some other samples that I've done, but one thing I really like about this sample is that you can actually distinguish and see the different types of bacterial colonies. And in the after section, there's no bacterial colonies at all. The kitchen sink drain. Before section, we can see a tremendous amount of bacteria, a big smearing of bacteria. In the after section, there's no bacterial growth at all. The bathroom sink. In the before section, we have a tremendous amount of bacteria, and in the after section, there's no bacterial growth at all. The toilet rim. In the before section, there is a lot of bacteria, and in the after section, there is no bacterial growth at all. Toilet bowl. In the before section, we can see a lot of bacteria, and in the after section, there are about 12 bacterial colonies, so we can definitely see a visible decrease in bacteria, but there are about a dozen bacterial colonies in the after section. So testing the efficacy of the force of nature after 2 weeks using a 10-minute sit time, boy, it did an excellent job. The only area where it really struggled a little bit was with the toilet bowl. Let's look at the results from force of nature after the solution has been sitting for 2 weeks, but this time using just a 1-minute sit time. The kitchen sink. In the before section, we've got a lot of bacteria, and in the after section, there is no bacterial colonies at all. The kitchen sink drain. In the before section, we can see a ton of bacteria, and in the after section, there are no bacterial colonies growing at all. The bathroom sink. In the before section, we have a lot of bacteria, and in the after section, there are a few small bacterial colonies growing. I think there's about half a dozen there. The toilet rim. In the before section, there's a lot of bacteria, and in the after section, there's no bacterial growth. The toilet bowl. In the before section, we can see a lot of bacteria, and in the after section, there are about 20 bacterial colonies growing there. So we definitely see a visible decrease, but there are a few bacterial colonies there. So testing the force of nature's efficacy after a 2-week period with just a 1-minute sit time. While the force of nature did an excellent job at removing the bacteria, again, the only place it really struggled was that toilet bowl. So the force of nature laundry strips are made with biodegradable ingredients that dissolve quickly in hot or cold water. So let's see how well they do dissolve in water. The Force of Nature laundry detergent sheets did a great job at dissolving in both hot and cold water. Let's see how well Force of Nature works as a glass cleaner. After using the Force of Nature to clean my mirrors in my windows, I say it does just as good as a Windex product when cleaning those surfaces. There were no leftover streaks, it got rid of all the toothpaste in the bathroom and the smears on the glass on the door, so it did a great job as a glass and mirror cleaner. Let's see how Force of Nature works cleaning a greasy pan. Using Force of Nature as a degreaser. This is one of my favorite uses of Force of Nature, aside from its ability to remove bacteria. I find its ability to break down grease to be absolutely amazing. So that is a roasting pan that I use to cook a whole chicken. So there's a lot of grease and some skin kind of stuck on the roasting pan. So I have a septic system, and I don't like putting any sort of grease or stuff like that down my drain because I don't want it compromising my septic system. So what I usually do is I take some paper towels and I try to wipe all the grease the best I can off of a pan, or I'll just kind of pour it into the trash or into a jar so that it doesn't go down my drain. But there's always some harder stuck on grease spots that just don't come off when you wipe. But when I spray the Force of Nature, it just kind of melts the grease so that I can wipe it off easily. So that is a whole bunch of gunk that is not going to go down into my septic system, which I'm really grateful for because I do not need to clog any pipes at all. I do not want to have to deal with a septic issue. So Force of Nature does a fantastic job at just breaking down that grease. Sometimes I have to spray it and wipe it a couple of times, but it works so well. I'm happy to do it, and I'm happy that I'm not putting all that grease down my drain. Let's see how well Force of Nature works cleaning my stainless steel refrigerator. It was kind of difficult for me to get some before pictures of my stainless steel appliances with like the fingerprints on them and the smears on them. I just couldn't get the camera angle right, but I think if you have these appliances in your home, you know that they do get kind of smeared and fingerprints on them and handprints on them or water splashes on them. So it's hard for me to show the before, but trust me when I say afterwards, the Force of Nature did a fantastic job of removing all of those kind of handprints and just stainy kind of marks off of my stainless steel appliances. Overall, I'm very impressed with Force of Nature. This is the kind of product that you can use one bottle for many uses in the home. Let's have another look at those bacteria results. I made some charts so you can get a better look at actually the progression of how the Force of Nature works. Brand new at 10 minutes, 1 minute, 2 weeks later at 10 minutes and 1 minute. So let's look at the kitchen sink so we can see in all of them. So the new 10 minute, the new 1 minute, the 2 week 10 minute, and the 2 week 1 minute. We have lots of bacteria in the before sections and no bacterial growth in those after sections. So the Force of Nature did an excellent job of removing the bacteria from my kitchen sink. Let's look at the kitchen sink drain. Here we can see the before sections for all, the new 10 minute, the new 1 minute, the 2 week 10 minute, and the 2 week 1 minute. All have a lot of bacteria in the before section and no bacterial growth in the after section. So the Force of Nature did an excellent job of removing the bacteria from my kitchen sink drain. Next, let's look at the bathroom sink. When we look at the before sections, we can see a lot of bacteria. We do see more bacteria in some of them than others, but that's okay. It's still a good representation of bacteria in a bathroom sink. And in the after section for the 10 minute, we do have a few bacterial colonies, but for the new 1 minute and the 2 week 10 minute and the 2 week 1 minute, we had no bacterial growth. Force of Nature does an excellent job of removing bacteria from my bathroom sink. Now let's look at the toilet rim. The before sections all show a great amount of bacteria. In the after section of the new 10 minute, the new 1 minute, the 2 week 10 minute, and the 2 week 1 minute all show no bacterial growth. So Force of Nature does an excellent job of removing the bacteria from my toilet rim. Let's look at the toilet bowl. Now remember, for the toilet bowl testing, all I did was spray, wait the allotted time, and flush. There was no scrubbing involved. The before section of all of the toilet bowl samples show a good deal of bacteria, and the after section for the new 10 minute shows about maybe 6 or so bacterial colonies. The new batch with a 1 minute, we could see a visible decrease in bacteria, a pretty good visible decrease, but there is still some bacteria there. So that shows to me that it needs more than 1 minute to remove a good amount of bacteria. We move on to the 2 week 10 minute. Again, there's just a few bacterial colonies hanging around. And the 2 week 1 minute, we can see more bacterial colonies hanging around the after section. So the Force of Nature does, I think, a good job at removing bacteria from a toilet bowl, especially considering I didn't do any scrubbing and they don't actually claim to be able to remove bacteria from toilet bowls. For those of you wondering what the scent of Force of Nature is, well, there is none. It is an unscented product. There is a slight kind of chlorine-ish scent that does give off while you're making it. Maybe when you're spraying it, you might get a very light scent of like a light chlorine smell, but it is not strong at all. There's no chemical additives for scents or fragrances. So if you're someone that is sensitive to some of those really strong perfumey scents, this really is a great product for you. There's also no dyes in it to make it change color or anything. It's just a clear, odorless liquid. I'm very pleased with all of the results that I received while performing this comprehensive test of Force of Nature. And thank you, Force of Nature, for sending me this starter kit and giving me an opportunity to provide my viewers with a really great comprehensive review of this product. So if there is a product that you would like me to test, do me a favor and put in the comments section and I will add it to my viewer suggestion list. Or you can mail me something. My mailbox address is in the description below. Just do me a favor and send me an email. That's also in the description below so that I know it's from you and so that I know I should check my mailbox. I have received a method cleaner from someone and I don't know who it is. And I'd like to know who sent it to me before I start testing it. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you'll consider giving Force of Nature a try. Take care. Have yourselves a great day.